I don't know about you guys, but I am missing yard sale season. I am missing driving around on the back roads of Montana and finding vintage and all sorts of fun stuff that I can come home and do these types of haul videos with you. So now that during this off season, which honestly for me is most of the year, I just rely on thrift stores to get my little vintage hunting fix. And this is basically what the scenery looks like this time of year when we're driving around to those thrift stores. I know I'm used to, in my yard sale videos, sharing some of the scenery, the farmland and things like that, but this is what we've got right now. But it's January, we are on the home stretch. It'll be spring soon, hopefully, and we'll be back out looking for that fun stuff. So I thought what I would do is just do a video sharing some of the vintage that I have picked up at the thrift store in the past couple of weeks. This was a few different stops that I made, a few different days, and just kind of the highlights of the vintage that I found. So we're gonna start with this item that actually sold this morning. And some of these items I do have footage for from when I was in the thrift store. I'll put those up when I can and if I have it. But it was this pencil sharpener, and I had seen it on the shelf. The brand is Barrel, it's a giant, and I had noticed that it said wood grain at the bottom. It's not terribly old, but I did see, it has a barcode. It did say made in the USA. So, and honestly, there's not too many of these manual type pencil sharpeners floating around anymore. So I knew somebody would want that. We put it on eBay and we cross-posted it over to Etsy. I kind of had thought maybe it would sell faster on Etsy, but it actually sold on eBay for $40 and I paid a little less than $3. I think I had a coupon that day at Goodwill. So keep an eye out for the old style pencil sharpeners. They can be, even this one actually was new in the package, so that was kind of unusual, but we've sold plenty of pre-owned ones as well that were even a little bit more vintage than these. Okay, so next up, I do have footage for this next one, and they were putting out, they had the bins where they were putting new goods out, and this was Goodwill as well. And so I found in one of those bins, this, as you could see, this metal horse plaque. So I'm gonna make sure I turn it towards the window. Otherwise it's gonna be hard for you guys to see that. Might not be the best place in my house to do this. But anyway, I just thought it was very interesting. It's like a pressed metal. It does have a little hook right here to hang on the wall. We believe it's copper, it's not magnetic, and you can see like the burnished areas for the detail are the copper color. When we got it at first, as you can see, it's kind of the ears bent over. This part down here is bent over. So at first I thought, well, oh, maybe this is bent, it needs to be fixed or whatever. But as we kind of put it up against the wall, we realized that it was probably done on purpose to kind of hold it again, like away from the wall a little bit. But anyway, so interesting, just very, here, I'll get a little bit closer. Anyway, and so finding comps, that's always the fun part when you find something interesting like that. I put it up to Google Lens, I got nothing. There's listings on, I looked on eBay for just like metal horse wall hangings, and there's some stuff that's, very commercial or whatever, very, gift shop-y kind of things, and just nothing quite exactly like this. Some things are copper, but they're like copper all over. So it's always fun to kind of come up with a price when you, when you find stuff like this. I just know horses are popular, so we're gonna go for it. We will list this on eBay and Etsy. And what I wanted to share with you guys is that my plan for this haul and these things that I'm gonna share with you today is to have as many of them listed as possible before the video comes out. And I'll tell you why. So I did do a video recently about my garage, right? My worst reselling mistake of 2024 was just the fact that we were backlogged, right? We just have so much vintage out there that needs to be gone through and listed and such. And I talked about the changes, the less clothing we're gonna buy and list and things like that. So when I did mention in that video that I still do plan on going out and going thrifting and looking for the fun stuff. But my goal now is to, when I have a vintage haul like this, to get it listed as soon as possible so it doesn't end up out in the garage in that profit pile. So we decided to make the video be like my, it's like my deadline, right? So if I can have the items listed by the time the video comes out, then that gives me kind of that impetus, that push to get those listings done. Okay, so this one, the listings will be down in the description if you want to take a look at them. Some of them we're still in the process of listing, and so we haven't quite figured out our prices. So if I don't give you an exact price, we were thinking somewhere in the $40 to $50 range for this. But if you go, into the listing and you get curious, you can see what we actually ended up listing an item for. Okay, I just realized big pink hat is back there. Okay, so next up that I found, I've got my notes here. I just wanted to share because I did do some research on some of these items. This one I do have footage for. I'm going to play that right now. So you can see that it is a pretty large tray that I was able to pick up. And I've got the tray right here. You can see how big it is. And I just, the handles, I just love those handles on there. That's aluminum. And then the tray itself is Formica. So I don't know if you could tell in that clip, that video, there is a sticker on the back that talks about Formica, and it calls it beauty bonded Formica. Anyway, so kind of back in the day, right, when they really were advertising Formica, it was a little bit of a newer product. So I'm thinking 40s, 50s for this one, definitely a mid-century type thing. So when I was looking it up, Formica, it was interesting. The Formica was invented in 1912. They were looking for a substitute for mica, M-I-C-A, and thus came the name Formica. But it was originally used for, they were looking for something to be used as an electrical insulator, and they came up with Formica at that point. By the 1930s, it had switched over to using that laminate, using it as a laminate for different surfaces because it's very durable. You could put cigarettes on it, it doesn't burn, it doesn't leave burn marks, just, different things like that. So it became, they had lots of colorful versions of it. So, countertops and all sorts of applications that it was super popular with. But definitely back from a time where they wanted to advertise the fact that this was made out of Formica. So again, I did find a comp when I was in the store. I found a comp for about $45 or so. They had some issues with their shipping charges in there. They undercharged, I think, for shipping. So I don't know if they did that on purpose or if that was, their way of bringing the shipping costs down. Like, basically they were saying it was a padded flat rate envelope that they were going to ship it in. So obviously that's not working. So we're still gonna shoot for that $40 to $50 for this nice big tray. I brought it home and Mr. Pish Posh, we were like, oh man, if we entertained more, like we always say we're gonna entertain, but then we don't. And so, but I was like, hey, if we get to summer and we need it and it's still in our inventory, then we'll just use it. And maybe we'll end up keeping it, but whatever. For the moment, it's listed, and we'll get, you know, we'll shoot for that $45, $50 that. Okay, so let's go a little smaller for a second. These I just picked up, they need to be cleaned, but I picked them up at our little clearance center thrift store. You've seen in my other videos how they've kind of changed it up. And so it has changed quite a bit as far as the amount of stuff we're finding when we go there. And one day I saw these salt and pepper shakers on a shelf, and that's pretty much this and a couple pairs of shoes is all I had brought home that day, and the shoes were even for me. But it's still super inexpensive. So it was only like less than $2 for the shoes and for the salt and pepper shakers. So using Google Lens, I found out that these are Franciscan. I kind of recognized the shape. You know, I knew it was vintage. They do have little rubber stoppers in the bottom. The color though, there's certain colors that just kind of scream like the 40s or 50s. And so the pattern for this, it's Franciscan, it's called Coronado, and the color is called Coral Beige, which I thought was a really interesting color description. And on replacements, if these are the matte finish ones, which I'm thinking, I don't know. If they're the matte finish ones, they're out of stock on replacements. If they're the glossy ones, they're asking like $40 for them on replacements. I'd have to figure out what these are. I'm thinking these are the matte or the satin. Sales are so-so. They're kind of like, you know, in the last 90 days, someone sold this set for like $8. I saw some older listings sold for about $14. So these will be in my Ruby Lane shop, and I'll shoot probably right around for that $12 to $14 range on those. Okay, so then for another find, I don't have footage for this one, maybe just a photo of it in my cart, but there was a woman standing there, and at our Goodwill, they put some hard goods up on top of the racks of clothing, and so she was right there looking at the clothing, and I kind of reached over her to get to this, and didn't want to film myself doing it. But anyway, I picked this up, and it's a little lap desk, like writing desk that has some horses on it, decoupaged. You know, here I am in Montana, so yes, getting lots of horse stuff. Let me see if this side's better. Okay. I think it's too glary near the window. Anyway, so, you know, it's slanted. It does open from the side, and it's lined in like a felt velvet. It has a little space for your pens, pencils. And like I said, this was decoupaged on. So we looked at this quite a bit. Like Mr. Pish Posh doesn't think it was mass produced, but it was definitely made by somebody who knew what they were doing. We're not quite sure, you know, how much was original, like when they first made it, or did someone maybe decoupage the horses on later just for fun or something like that. But anyway, it's just a nice piece. You know, it could be not a whole lot of people doing snail mail or writing or things these days, but it's definitely, you could use it for document storage. You can use it for all sorts of things. And so hard to find comps, like to find ones that open this way, you know, so if it was just kind of like a handcrafted personal project, but there's a lot of nice details, the trim around the edges and things like that. So I don't know. This was one of the ones that we hadn't quite figured out what we were going to charge for it yet. So if you're interested in knowing the number we came up with, you can click the link in the description below and see what the listing shows that we decided to do. I just think somebody's going to want that, right? Like, if you guys want to leave a comment on any of these things as far as pricing, if you think our pricing is off or if you think it should be higher or lower, anything like that, feel free to leave a comment. I'm going to go on to the next item. Also, another small little thing, you know, not too crazy, but just super cute. I picked up these two little books, and the covers are cloth. They are by A.A. Milne. So it's Now We Are Six and When We Were Very Young. So kind of classic little poems by A.A. Milne. Cute little covers, you know, end pages. And it's got the poetry in there. I just thought these would be super cute in a little kid's room, you know, a little decoration for the nursery or something like that. And they were, let's see, they're by Dutton. And Now We Are Six was originally written in 1927. Copyright was renewed in 1955. This version was from 1961. So these are just little 1961 cloth bound versions. I did find some comps. There was like one for $19.99 that sold, but it was in better condition. These do have some condition issues. They're pretty distressed. Maybe not this one. This one looks like it does have a little bit of water damage on the cover. You know, the inside is good. It's not like they're scribbled on or anything like that. But anyway, I just thought they would be cute little decoration. They'll be in my Ruby Lane shop probably about, I'll try to get like $15 for the both of them is what I'll be shooting for. Okay, I'm gonna add this one in. I don't have any notes on it because I honestly couldn't find anything about it. But I picked this up one day at the thrift store. Super cool looking. And it does have a marking. So it's copper and then another this black metal. It is marked. We figured out the marking is for the Keystone Silver Company. I'll try to put a picture up here. But what's interesting is that looking in comps, you can't, because it was a silver company, a lot of silver companies would do stuff in other metals. And it's marked solid copper and pewter. So the black evidently is pewter. But you can't, I can't find anything by Keystone in other metals. Like there's some silver plate items here and there, like in Worth Point, but for the most part, there's not much out there. And it's really hard to find anything comps wise for that. But I have no doubts that this will sell. We have sold similar type items before. You know, I'm not sure the pricing that we're going to do on that one. I'd have to look at some of the older ones that we had, maybe the $25 to $30 range for that. Okay, so let's move on to just one little jewelry item that I picked up. And again, not big money. I just wanted to share with you these little clip earrings. They are marked with Sarah Coventry on the clips. So a lot of times with, I guess you would wear them like this. A lot of times with Sarah Coventry, it's not going to be high money, kind of a bread and butter brand, but there are collectors for Sarah Coventry. And there's people who would want to finish up a set. Like maybe they have the necklace and they need the earrings or things like that. This will probably be listed in that $8 to $10 range in my Ruby Lane shop. What I like to do with my Sarah Coventry jewelry is find the name of the piece. Because all the jewelry by Sarah Coventry has names, and a lot of sellers don't take that time to do it. So using Google Lens and looking at other people's listings, I did find someone who had the original card that they were on. And so I found out that they were called Wind Song, and I think they were from like 1969 or something like that. So not a whole lot in comps as far as just the earrings by themselves, but like I said, we'll just throw it up there, $8 to $10, wait for the buyer who wants them, right? Okay, what else? Oh, we're gonna talk about some fun stuff. This was probably my favorite finds. I mean, I really like the tray. I really like the lap desk. I like the horse. I do like the candle holder. Okay, but this was just fun. So I usually, as you guys know from my past necktie videos, I always look at the neckties. And honestly, people are going back to the offices and things like that. And I think neckties are gonna pick up. But in any case, I do like to focus on vintage neckties, which do have collectors, and that kind of continues whether, dressing up for the office or for churches in style or not, right? Okay, so there was one day I went to the thrift store and I found 2 ties that I ended up bringing home. The first one was this one, and this is a type that I usually look for. Let me see if I can go that way. As you can see, it's kind of like a textured, they'll call it a brocade fabric. And if you look at the back, the tie is not lined. So this is most likely a 1930s necktie. My lighting is not working. Okay, too much light coming in right there. I'll have to rethink that for the next video. Okay, and so just an abstract pattern. The only tag on it is for a department store in Montana that had opened like in 1900 or something like that, but was still going a little while later. So anyway, just based on the style, the lack of lining, the way the back is folded, it could be 20s, but most likely I usually just throw 30s on the listing and have no problem selling them. But they will sell like probably $25, something like that, even though it's got quite a bit of age to it. And then this was a fun one. If you guys saw, I had made a short on my channel yesterday or today. By the time you're seeing this, it was yesterday. And so I shared this necktie in that short. And so I noticed it was very brightly colored, so it caught my attention. But then I was surprised to see that the brand was Coogee, Australia. So if you weren't aware, Coogee sweaters are something you want to look out for because they sell really, really well. Kind of similar pattern like this and textured and everything like that. They can sell in the hundreds if you come across them. So I had no idea they made neckties, and I decided to bring it home and see how it did. It looks like comps kind of range all over the place. There's like a $20 one, and some of them are a lot more muted. This one's nice and bright. Some were selling for like 30. So I think I'm gonna list mine for 30 and just see what ends up happening for that one. But then I had this other day that I was at a thrift store, and that particular thrift store does their neckties 4 for $1. And so I was excited. I first saw this one, 4 for $1. There's a lot of boring ties on there. Like I was sifting through, they have 2 like racks, and I was sifting through one. And I was just like, okay, boring, boring, boring. But you're thinking 25 cents, I don't know. And then I saw this one, and I was like, ooh, that one's vintage, I know that. Okay, so this has this picture on it of flying ducks. And what was interesting, so this is a Penny's Towncraft. It's probably from the 50s. And I have another tie, it's a similar tie. And it has this mark on the back that talks about it being a color photo. So they used a color photo to put, this color photo picture on here. The other one I have listed at the moment is Mount Rushmore. So you would think these would be a little bit more collectible, but they don't sell for very much. I might end up putting the two together because I listed the other one a few weeks back. I don't even know if I've gotten any nibbles on it or anything. But the theme of this one might be a little bit more interesting to somebody. They're mallards. So I might try it by itself first. And then if not, then we'll list the two together. We'll see. And that would probably be more like in the $15 to $20 range for that one. Then I was super excited. Okay. Because then as I was going through that second rack of ties, I saw another vintage tie. I'm so excited. Nice big wide one, probably from the 40s. It's got this rainbow trout and the fly fishing. Okay, so just kind of a nice theme. And then I saw on the back, I think when I got home, the marking there, Cutter Cravat. And it says it's a color cade print by Cutter Cravat. cravat. And it has a name. The print has a name called Rainbow Trout by, and then it had the artist, which I can't read. So very, very, very interesting. So that led me down the rabbit hole of researching cutter cravat and color-cade print ties. Not a whole lot of information out there. There was, let's see, a golf one recently sold for $20. There's an active one with a dog, or there's one active one. I forgot what theme. A dog one sold for like $30. I had to go into Worth Point to find a few. And then some people had listed cutter cravat, but they didn't put the word color-cade in their title. So my specific searches were not coming up. So what did I learn? Okay, but then like over on Etsy, somebody's trying to get $80 for one with a Cocker Spaniel on it, which was really a cute one. So subject matter will play a big role in the price that you end up getting for ties, vintage ties like that. One thing I did learn, and I'm going to share with you, is I'll put up a picture of an ad. These were cutter cravat. This is the cutter cravats you want to look for. There was a line of ties called Artist Originals, and they're very abstract. You know, they're not of a scene or anything like that. As you can see in the ad, they're just very abstract, but they're bold, right? They're very swing, bold era style neckties. Those can sell in the hundreds or close to $100. So that's definitely a cutter cravat that you want to keep an eye out for. Okay. And then the other one I found, also a 50s tie, just had a nice pretty scene with the palm tree and the sailboat. And as I was handling it, I'm like, what are these little felt little dots on here? And then there's another one further down. I was like, ooh, somebody add something to it. But 25 cents, I bought it anyway. And then I saw the tag and it says Rhinecliff, handmade with the dots, right? So the dots are there on purpose. Now I'm kicking myself because I was doing research on this tie the other day and I came across an ad that explained what to do with the dots. And it basically is just how you do you put the dots in a certain spot and, you know, like if the dots, I don't know, if they line up, if you do it here, then the picture on your tie will end up like just right on yourself. It's just kind of a guide for how to make your tie look its best, I guess. Anyway, I can't find that ad again. I was Googling and Googling and Googling. And then I thought, oh, I know. I left the E off of Rhinecliff. So I was like, now I'll find it. But no, I didn't. So I don't know. But if I edit, as I'm editing the video, if I find it again, I'll pop it up here. But it was gone. So I've learned my lesson when I'm researching to screenshot immediately. Otherwise, you may never find it again. Okay, so like I said, there was 4 ties for $1. So I did buy 4 ties that day. This is the 4th one I came up with. And it's kind of scary. But it's got clowns. It's got clowns on it. The brand I've never heard of, the designer, Giorgio Redaelli. So there are a couple sold comps for that designer. It's made in Italy, but I haven't found anything with the clowns or anything similar where they did, because it's got the name Clown by Walter Galletti. This has the artist and stuff like that. So I didn't see anything else with like art, like the art ties or anything. So that's going to be a who knows, maybe someone just wants a clown tie kind of thing, but I only paid 25 cents. Okay, a couple more little things that I found and picked up. Can you guys guess what these are? I saw this and then I saw this. And it's very interesting because when you Google Lens these, you get all sorts of listings of people's all sorts of creative guesses about what they are. But what I have come up with as the most logical and most likely correct is that they are single egg poachers, dippers, you can put it in the pan and then you're able to lift it out with the little handle. But anyway, people were putting all sorts of things about tea bag strainers, why you would need that big handle, I don't know. Somebody even mentioned like you could hang it on the wall, hang it from here, and you could put your soap in here. Why it would need to be footed, I don't know. But anyway, they could be repurposed for all sorts of different things, but I think I'll just list the couple together. Again, comps were maybe like $9 a piece or something like that when I actually found one that, you know, had accurate information, or just even a sold, you know, there's not a ton of them out there. Okay, and then one of my sad stories of the day, I was so excited to find this. I was like, how cute is this? Look at this little covered dish, covered little container. It says buttons. And you would keep your little buttons, you know, if a button came off or if you had extra buttons or whatever. So I was super excited about finding that. Just a cute little thing to throw in my Ruby Lane shop. And then as the older gentleman was packaging this up for me, he dropped the lid. But it was while he was wrapping it in bubble wrap. And so I didn't think it would be that much of an issue. Like he dropped the whole thing on the counter, but maybe he hit the edge or something like that. But I didn't like, hey, can you pull that out so I can look at it? I probably should have. And then when I got home, Mr. Pishposh was like, you know, it's cracked, right? So it's got a pretty bad crack and little chip in it right now. So I don't think I'm gonna list it, but maybe I have a little trinket thing for myself. So I don't know. Okay, one last thing, then I'm gonna let you go. This is just kind of a funny one, but I wanted you to be aware of it as resellers. But whenever I find underwear new in the package, I always check the date. So these are just boxers, but they're Hanes. They're new in the package. And I've turned them around, and for some reason, underwear is always dated. There's always a date on it. And this is 1994. So I looked it up, and I'll throw some comps up here. It's looking to be about $45 for like the colorful boxers, not boxer briefs, but just boxers, cotton boxers. There's like 3 in here that are patterned. And I guess, you know, they just don't make them like they used to in the 90s. So people want to buy them. So $45 for these. So check the dates on the underwear. You just never know. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Those were some of my vintage highlights from the last couple of weeks, just thrifting around here in Montana. And so leave me a comment down below. What was your favorite thing that I found? And let me know if you have found anything interesting out in your travels and in your thrifting adventures. And we will talk to you soon.